Welcome in to Check the Mic, presented by FanDuel. Steve Palazzolo Sam Monson. We're live from the Antonio Cromartie studio, in part with Huggies.
Yeah, we are.
Thanks to our Howard Hughes billionaire YouTube member, Drew, for the naming rights to the Antonio Cromartie studio, in part with Huggies. We're here for the Wednesday show. My favorite show of the week, Sam.
The Wednesday show.
I love the reaction on Monday. That's fun. The previews on Thursday. But Wednesday, freewheeling, having fun. It's our Wednesday update. All sorts of news. Jam-packed show.
Jam-packed.
Loaded.
Action-packed show.
We got news. We have a new quarterback starting, a rookie declared the starter. We have some injury updates. We have a ton. And, of course, the award-winning Shouty Show segment.
Award-winning.
Future award-winning.
Got it.
Future award-winning Shouty Show segment. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing great.
Excellent.
Doing great. We good here?
Yeah.
One big announcement, though.
What do we got?
A reminder. Tomorrow night is Thursday Night Football, and we're going to be live. 8, 8:10, 8:15, we're going to go live right from over there in the studio for members, for our YouTube members. So if you have not signed up to one of the 3 membership tiers, different from a subscription, you can just click the subscribe button. The show's free. Everything's free. But the membership, if you want to watch the watch-along for members only tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, Seahawks, Cardinals, you got to sign up before tomorrow night.
It's going to be fun. Hopefully we'll have a slightly superior setup than before because we'll have actual microphones and
we're going to keep getting
real
better.
Camera.
You're going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
We ordering rubies tomorrow night?
Well, I mean, I'm not. You don't want to DoorDash rubies.
Could go pick it up downtown.
It's just it doesn't. That kind of thing doesn't
Not the
travel
same.
well.
All right,
know?
figure out something that we could DoorDash during the game. We'll figure it out. All right, let's start this show. We've been doing us versus the Shouty Shows, but we've got some good press conference clips
Okay.
as well. So let's start with that, us listening to some press conferences.
What was it for you guys to get the victory for them?
I loved it, and it's also their D coordinator was the one that cut me in Carolina, so it was a lot of stuff was personal today. Hassan Reddick, former Jet, a lot of people.
Baker Mayfield, bitter Baker,
Petty Baker Mayfield.
petty Baker is, you know,
He's always been like that. I mean, that was, he was keeping receipts on Colin Cowherd at draft time. Like, Baker has always had a petty streak to him, and I love that.
that was part of why we thought he was going to be great in the NFL.
Yeah.
It just took a
chip
few
on his
years.
shoulder.
It took a few years, but he's there now.
I love that. I mean, all these people, they do that anyway. They just don't say it out loud, right? Like, Tom Brady keeps a list of people that affect him over down the years, right?
absolutely.
It's like, it's just in the data bank somewhere. Aaron Rodgers absolutely has that. So, yeah, like, what's the problem with saying it?
Have I told you the one that I always kept in the back of my head?
Probably. What is it?
Probably. Red Sox scout. When I was, because I'm coming out of college.
Local kid. Yeah.
Coming out of college, trying to get a look. Some scouts looking at me. Go undrafted.
Uh-huh.
And I think either my high school coach or college, I think it was my high school coach, was like, hey, what about Palazzolo? Give him a look, give him a tryout, get him into rookie ball, whatever. And the guy said, he's a dime a dozen righty.
Wow.
Dime a dozen right-handed pitcher.
I mean, from what little I know about your game, he wasn't wrong, but it still sounds harsh.
No, turns
to
out.
hear out loud.
Turns out I was a jag, just a guy.
Yeah.
AAA pitcher.
I mean, I was watching-
shout out to the Red Sox scout. He nailed it.
Yeah, right. It's like the guy that completely the guy that was sort of framed as a cantankerous old Steelers scout who basically perfectly summed up Ryan Leaf in the draft article in ESPN. They're basically framing this guy as an old curmudgeon, and yet he 100% sums up Leaf in like one line. It's perfect.
I hate when that happens, actually. A lot of people get criticized for their negative opinions up front. It's like, oh, this guy's trashing this kid. And then we never go back 5 years later and like, oh, he kind of nailed it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, sometimes I think they go a bit like, is it Bob McGinn that has that article where he always has all the unnamed scouts? It's like some of them are pretty sort of over the top personal. But there's like, if you just nail what the thing is, it's fine. But if you're going, if what you're saying sounds sort of unnecessarily personal as opposed to
you don't need that.
a character flaw, then that's the problem, I think. I was watching some video that was like, the men's league that you were trying to be talked into playing in. The video was like, even men's league people are throwing 100. And there was some guy.
Oh, men's league baseball?
Yeah. There's some dude throwing 100.
I saw somebody who trains pitchers, and I was, that was on that path until I found football. I was going to be, a pitching coach and everything. Turned down a pitching coach job at the Houston Astros, so to continue at PFF. There's some guy who just trains pitchers, and he's like, I'm just going to keep throwing, and he's like 41 and throwing 100. I don't know if it's that guy, or if there's multiple 100-mile-an-hour.
I'm just saying, in the world where you were termed, a dime a dozen righty, I mean, you didn't get to 100, and now apparently men's league people are just out here firing 100.
Yeah, the training protocols are better.
Sure.
They're better now.
Yeah.
All right, we got Mac Jones on his interception.
I mean, I threw it right to the guy, so it wasn't like he made a good play.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him. He caught it, like, awesome. But like, it was the technically second part of my read, and I took a hitch to it and ripped it. I don't know. And he was standing right there, so I just got to get off of it. And
Mac Jones interception thrown to the rabbit.
To the rabbit, yeah.
Yeah. So the headline should be Mac Jones gives no credit to the rabbit.
I mean, it's an honest breakdown. I like it,
I like that, yeah.
I got to not throw it straight to the guy that was always there.
Yeah, it was completely on me. He didn't make a good play.
It's true.
Don't give credit to your opponents if it was all your fault. So the honesty from Mac Jones, I'm sure that's a lot easier after a comeback win on Sunday. 16-15, Niners got the win to go to 3-0.
Yep.
But yeah, just some honesty from Mac Jones.
Like it.
All right, man. It is. I like the press conference clips. I like to get quick responses on that. But it's time. Future award-winning Shouty Show time.
I've thought about it very deeply.
I liked how he started it with, I've thought about this long and hard.
I trust the backup quarterback more than I do Dak.
This is why Skip Bayless is the master of the Shouty Show segments.
I can't do it anymore. It is year 6.
It's just a never-ending arms race of idiocy between loud, obnoxious people. We are the antidote to that.
The antidote.
To idiocy.
To idiocy. That's us. All right, Shouty Show time. We got a few. Let's start with an evaluation of Ashton Jeanty.
What's Ashton Jeanty's it factor? Because when you got it, and it pops. We see it at some point. Fred Taylor had it. LaDainian Tomlinson had it. Adrian Peterson, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson. We saw it. Right. You saw it early. Even if the statistics didn't say, oh, he rushes for 100.
Well, Bijan was seeing.
Right, it was something early.
Right.
Where's Ashton Jeanty's? Ashton Jeanty doesn't have that it factor.
Ryan Clark on Ashton Jeanty does not have the it factor through 2 games plus a couple preseason carries. Your thoughts?
My thought is that he should know better than that. So there are some times where the blocking in front of you is so bad there is no way of seeing it, whatever it is. There was a period of time where Derrick Henry was running behind the worst offensive line in the NFL in Tennessee, and people were busy saying, Derrick Henry's done. It's over. Write the eulogy. Derrick Henry has had a great career, but he's on the downslope now. He's declining. And then he got the hell out of the worst offensive line in the NFL, and suddenly he pops off and almost puts 2,000 yards on the board again.
Derrick Henry, by the way, I believe it was year 2, late in the year. That was when he broke out.
Yeah,
late in
we didn't
year
see it
2.
From Derrick Henry right away.
It was like a Thursday night football game against the Jags when he starts stiff-arming people into the turf, and all of a sudden, I mean, there were people saying he's 250, you kind of run soft, where's your 250? And it was like all of a sudden he got mad on a Thursday night football game and never looked back.
Right. Derrick Henry did not show it right away, regardless of what the blocking was in front of him, the way Ryan Clark claims. I mean, yeah, look, there are people like Adrian Peterson where almost regardless of situation, that guy's going to look insane. But there are other all-time great running backs where if the situation in front of them is terrible, they're not going to look good. Jeanty, I mean, Renner posted a clip of like back-to-back plays of Jeanty just getting buried in the backfield. It's like the dude had no chance. At the handoff, there's a guy right there both times. Like, you can't, there's nobody in the world that can make that happen on a consistent basis. And the first one, it took the third guy to bring him down. Like, he actually did make something happen. It's not like both those guys just tackled him immediately. The first handoff, he broke 2 tackles and then got buried behind the line of scrimmage.
There's also a more nuanced conversation behind this, right? Like, I could argue that the it factor has been shown from Ashton Jeanty. The 4 times he's gotten to the second level across 2 games, it feels like he trucks a dude every single time, right? So he's got some pop to his game, but every time he has a 10-yard carry or a 12-yard carry, it's like the next play tackled in the backfield for -4, and it's like at the end of the day, he's under 4 yards per carry. So that is, I think, the tricky part with Jeanty. The other nuanced conversation was, the stat that I put out there the other day. It's Genty and Chase Brown, the only running backs under a yard, negative yards before carry per rush. And that is, there's talk in the social media sphere that, it's not always an O-line number, which I agree. Like, it's not always offensive line. I think speed backs create their own yards before carry sometimes. Jamal Charles was great at this, right? He was so fast to the edge, and he'd one cut, like he'd go 60 yards untouched, and that's not necessarily because it's all the blocking who would deserve credit for 60 yards. His speed makes that happen. You could argue against Genty and say he might not have the speed to overcome the lack of blocking. He hasn't shown that yet, and I feel like that's maybe what Ryan Clark's getting at here. But the yards before contact number for Genty looks legit.
Well, look,
it looks legit because of how many times he's getting hit in the backfield.
Yards before contact, either total or, per rush, is not exclusively an offensive line / blocking statistic. It is influenced by the running back and by other things as well. However, if you are negative in yards before contact, that's not the running back.
It's probably difficult, yeah.
Like
it's difficult to outrun that.
It's basically impossible for the running back to be at fault for a negative yards before contact statistic overall, right? Like that, the worst offensive lines in the NFL over the course of a season are going to be at 1, 0.9, 0.8 at an absolute worst yards before contact per rush. If you're negative, that is not the running back. That is a catastrophic level of blocking, which is what's going on in front of Genty right now. My point is, I don't think we know much about Genty at the moment.
And by the way, that was exactly how the Raiders were last year. I know there's a new system. There's a little turnover on the offensive line, but not much. It is very much exactly what we were talking about last year at this time, where the backs were unable to get anything going because there was no good run blocking in front of them.
Yeah.
All right, that's Genty. Let's go some praise for Josh Allen. Oh, I know where it's going.
I was going to say, I'm mad at myself that we spent 9 minutes and 17 seconds, and I didn't say this yet. I'm watching the game last night. I've been watching this sport 50 years, and I'm just a fan. I'm just a reporter, whatever the case is. No one has ever played that position better than Josh Allen plays it. He's not the greatest player ever.
Bart.
No, you tell me who has played that position better than he plays it.
Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert right now is cooking. What are we talking about, Greeny? It's so early.
He's better than them. I'm saying you can't be better than Josh Allen is. Josh Allen.
He's waiting. He said, Greeny, your theory on Greeny. He's sitting there. Talk us through what's happening. He's watching Thursday Night Football. It's the Bills against the worst defense in the league, and the wheels are turning. And Greeny, he's like, we got a big show tomorrow morning. I got something percolating here as I watch Josh Allen. What's going through his mind?
Well, the meme we were talking about the other day, like the one that looks like Abraham Lincoln. I've already forgotten what painting it's from, but the guy
from
standing
1943.
there. Yeah, the guy standing there, preaching his piece to the crowd, right? Everything Greeny ever says feels like he's that painting. It's like, I want to deliver a speech that, like, the camera's on me, I'm at a pulpit, I'm delivering a speech, this 30 seconds is going to go viral. This is what I'm here for. And I hate it. I don't like it because for multiple reasons. Number one, I don't like that as a thing, right? Like, this is the 30 seconds that is for the cameras, that's for, the hamming it up, right? Number two, why does anybody care what he says? He's the host on a show with other experts. I don't like his opinion being thrown into the mix. I don't care. You're there to facilitate the other people in the show, right? It's not like you and me where we are host, expert, like we're equals on this show, right? Yeah. Your opinion is as valid as my opinion, 50, which is 50. As valid as your opinion. We go back and forth, right? Greenberg is the host of a show where the other people are supposed to know what the deal is, right? And then he's like, no, you know what? Guys, shut up for a second. I have 30 seconds. It's gold right now. And let me pitch it at you. And you're like, what?
Honestly, can't believe we got 17 seconds into this topic without me dropping it.
It's mind-blowing to me that I allowed this show to go this long without me telling you what I think. You're like, what? Who cares?
That's great. That's great.
Mind you, by the way, his actual point.
Who cares?
His actual, the thing that he's saying, there's a case for it.
Oh, man.
But there's a case for it in the way that there is for, like, the top 15 quarterbacks of all time. You could say that about, right? Like, when they are playing at their best, you could make that argument about any of the top 15 guys that ever played. Right? People said this about Aaron Rodgers at the time. When Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were in their pomp, but Rodgers was cooking, it was like, I don't know if there's ever been a more talented quarterback than Aaron Rodgers right now. Like, this is it. This is the best anybody's ever played. And it's like, well, what about Brady and Manning right over there, right? Or Drew Brees over here? Like, people made that argument about Rodgers. People made it about Mahomes. Again, I think you could make that argument about any of the top 15 quarterbacks that ever played.
It's easier to make that argument for Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers than it is for Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, because at Brady and Manning's best, they were just, carving up defenses and it looked great. The reason why you get to that Greenberg take there is because theoretically it's like, man, Josh Allen's doing the pre-snap now. That was the conversation around Rodgers.
Yeah, but
it was like Rodgers is doing the read the defense, hit the open man, throw the ball accurately. Oh, but you know what Peyton and Brady don't have? They don't throw on the run, and they don't run themselves.
That's
they don't
the thing. It's the running. It's
when you add that
athleticism.
But when you add that, so like a couple years ago, you'd say, look, Allen does all these high-level things, but he's not Brady's level. He's not Peyton's level. He's not Drew Brees before the snap. But the more you hear announcers be like, well, look at the pre-snap Josh Allen's doing. And then it triggers you in your brain, oh, he's doing the same stuff Brady and Manning did, and he's 6'5", 240 and trucking dudes and running and short yardage back, and that's the best ever. That's where that comes from.
It's like the talent conversation, right? Where you only ever hear people talk about talented quarterbacks that are athletic and big armed, right? Nobody ever talks about Tom Brady as being talented, even though what Tom Brady was good at has to be a talent. Otherwise, what's the point in describing the concept? Anyway, but the point is,
talent thing's the dumbest thing ever. Go ahead.
It's the same thing with this, right? You're only going to hear this argument made about quarterbacks that are athletic and mobile, right? Whereas all Peyton Manning did was throw for like 5,500 yards and 55 touchdowns in a season after, like a decade after doing the equivalent thing in 2004 when the numbers were lower, right? Like he basically had the same absurd record-breaking nut job season twice in his career. It's like, well, there's no talent involved in that, right? That's not the best anybody's ever played because he didn't run. He didn't also add 300 yards scrambling, so nobody gives a crap.
Oh, people! I mean, I'm sure if people were listing the most talented quarterbacks of all time, I'll ask the people who is more talented. I'll give you three names: most talented: Cam Newton, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
Okay.
In the talent argument,
yeah,
was Cam Newton more talented the way that people use that than Tom Brady?
Anyway, so my point being, the least obnoxious thing about that is actually the point he's making, which I at least have some time for. I wouldn't.
I
wouldn't make the argument myself, but I understand it, and I think you could make that argument about 15 quarterbacks to have ever played.
It's just like where it came from. Like I just watched him against the worst defense in the league, and he threw a game-winning swing screen.
It's the source,
and then you show up the next morning like this is the
It's the source.
No one throws the 15-yard game-winning swing screen like Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's the source and the motivation I have a problem with. The actual point, the substance, it's fine. Substance is okay, particularly for that show, by the way, where the substance is usually quite a larger problem than that. The substance of the point is fine. The source and the motivation are
the
bad.
Source being the host. The host can't have an opinion.
We can have it. It's just like not, hang on, guys, let me interrupt the show to tell you my opinion from my pulpit here. Bang the gavel.
Yeah, I get that he's the host. I would also say I think his opinion's as valid as the former players who think that their opinions are more important.
I mean, it's valid, but it's not the way the show is supposed to work, right?
Yeah,
like
the
host doesn't lead off with like, let me tell you what I think, and then you can react to that, guys. It's like, no, the whole point is like, here's a topic. I'm going to find out what you think. And then if I have a contrary opinion, I could throw it in,
We've all had hosts who try to steal the show and get all their opinions in. And so,
as
we
opposed
understand
to
what it's like.
Gavel on the pulpit. Let me pause the show because I can't believe we've gone this far already.
Hold
without
on,
me
experts.
taking
I got
stage.
something to say.
Right.
We've all been there. So, you don't want.
No, I don't like that. Didn't like it at that time. Don't like it now.
Still don't like it. All right, we got Dan O. It's coming back, baby.
This is one of the most pathetic takes that Dan Orlovsky has ever given.
Wait a minute.
You got to be you got to be kidding me. You got to be good with your knowledge of football. Listen, I'm not playing. Come on, Dan. You know what? You've forgotten more football than most people know. You saw how bad Dallas's defense was.
Yeah.
In the first half alone, you've got a situation where Caleb completed passes 65 yards, 41, 35, 31, and 29 yards, all in the first half. What about the flea flicker that DeAndre Swift threw there? He threw it up to the damn stands, for crying out loud. Caleb Williams had time to call his honey, or order Uber Eats, sit up there and take a phone call and all this stuff before the ball came down in his hands, and then he threw it down to Luther Burden III. Okay, come on, man. You saw that. You have no pass rush whatsoever. You only got 4 sacks over the 3 games.
Stephen A. So it's really Stephen A. responding to Dan O. as we
Do you think
heard.
that
Uber Eats getting a shout out there instead of DoorDash?
Bonus. Do you think that ever annoys the people that are on that show? Like if you're Dano, right?
Here he is.
And if you're Dano and you're giving your honest football take, like I've been in the tape. I've looked at all the things and I decided this.
What is this?
And then Stephen A. is like,
Cam's on this show now?
Then Stephen A. just comes out and is like, that's a pathetic take. You're like, you, with your knowledge of this, is telling me that my take is pathetic.
We have playful, I would say banter, but the banter is more back and forth. We have playful responses to Dan O's takes on this show without his ability
You don't tell him he's pathetic.
No, we don't. Certainly don't. But he says something, we might respond to it or whatever. And so this is what's happening, right? There's 4 games in the 4 o'clock window. Stephen A's probably got the quad box going.
Of course, yeah.
Right? And so he sees a couple plays. Maybe he only watches Football Night in America to catch the highlights for that day. And then he rolls in on Monday morning. Meanwhile, Dan O, he's up at 5 a.m. He's grinding the film. He's got 3 big topics. He's going to watch every single throw for the 3 quarterbacks he knows he's going to talk about. Caleb Williams is one of them. Constructs this take about Caleb Williams and his game yesterday, and Stephen A. is like, he had a wide open flea flicker, and all the passes were wide open. It's all Dallas.
Do you think that Stephen A. even watches games? Do you think that he just because he's the man that the fastest 3 minutes is built for? Now, okay, that's on a Monday, so that doesn't help him on Monday morning.
He might be straight red zone.
He's probably watching Football Night in America where they run through the highlights, and he's like, I'm covered.
He might be. Yeah, maybe red zone's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's 7 hours. He doesn't have 7 hours to sit there and watch red zone.
All that said, these are predictable takes, right? Dan's more, it's always the quarterback. If it's good quarterback play. I mean,
right.
if there's good stats, it's the quarterback.
Right.
Right? Only 5 quarterbacks in the world are doing what Caleb Williams did on Sunday. So it's always the quarterback.
Right.
There's no credit for the coaches or the scheme. There's certainly no discrediting the defense because playing quarterback in the NFL is very difficult.
No, but this is
and anyone that puts up a 4-touchdown game or 3-touchdown game and 10 yards per attempt, that's the quarterback. And then Stephen A., he cut his teeth in you just got to talk about the Cowboys. Like, what does Sunday do for Dak Prescott's legacy? I'm sure that came up at some point. What does the 1-2 start for the Cowboys do for Dak's legacy? So these are predictable takes, I would say.
Oh, sure. But this is where, ironically, I actually think on substance, Stephen A. Smith is closer to the truth than Dano in this. Yeah. But I think number one, it's not about that in this show. Number two, you really undermine that when you lead off with just saying the guy's take is pathetic. I don't agree with Dano's take. I think actually the Dallas Cowboys defense is probably the bigger needle mover in that whole dynamic of Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams breakout game than it is those two just figured it out during the week. But I wouldn't call him pathetic for voicing the opposite opinion. And yet Stephen A. does that.
That was mean to a coworker.
Mean, disrespectful.
Maybe he's fighting back for the non-players around here. Hey, listen, former player. Your takes are pathetic as a former player. Just like the players do to the non-former players, Fighting back. Stephen, he's for us. He's on our side.
A man of the people.
Yeah, you and me. We're closer to Stephen A. than we are Dan O.
Oh, it's tragic.
Even though I'm a former professional athlete as well, like Dan.
I mean, I've at least played football. Stephen A.'s never done that.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
Oh. You never played?
No. He barely played basketball, let alone football.
He's an expert.
He averaged 1.5 points a game or whatever the stat is.
Stephen A. is an inspiration.
To what?
I don't know. Hopefully not too many people. All right, let's wrap it up. We got a rant on the Ravens.
They got bullied from pillar to post.
Oof. And that doesn't happen normally for that team.
That never happens in Baltimore. Ever. Last night we saw something that we've never seen before.
Never seen it.
The Baltimore Ravens gave up 224 yards rushing. It's the most since week 6 of 2017.
So we have
the Baltimore Ravens were held under 100 yards rushing for the second week in a row, which has never happened in the Lamar Jackson era of Ravens football. Right now, what we're about to do the next 10 minutes is give you the anatomy of an ass whipping, because that's what happens. And I'm calling people out by name today because I'm upset.
Oh.
So those defensive tackles, Travis Jones, Broderick Washington, John Jenkins, Brent Urban, y'all got manhandled by some pups from the Detroit Lions.
Pups.
The youngsters.
And,
young guards.
Penei Sewell, one of the best right tackles in the game.
True. Well, he's talking about the defensive tackles, so he's talking about the...
well, yeah, but like the highlight reel play that's going around out there of Travis Jones getting driven out of the world in duo is a double team between the right tackle and the right guard.
No,
Penei Sewell is part of that. Now, you can argue the right guard was doing more of the heavy lifting, but it was a pretty significant part of that. I love... this has never happened before, except 2017 when it last happened. You know? This has never happened before in the Lamar Jackson era. You know? Never happened in the history of Baltimore Ravens football since this quarterback came into the starting lineup.
I'm going to add to this something else. The thing I hate, I merely saw the headline and didn't listen to the whole thing, but Colin Cowherd said there was, I'm assuming the quote's legit, something about like, this isn't Ray Lewis and Ed Reed anymore in Baltimore.
Okay.
That's like us. That's like you and I dropping, takes from 15 years ago, like names from 15 years ago. Like, it's not Eli Manning's Giants anymore, guys.
It's not.
Guys, it's not Eli's man. Yeah, it hasn't been. Like, it hasn't been Ray Lewis or Ed Reed's Ravens for 15 years. And in that time, they've had really good defenses at points. So, yeah, like, that's not the best.
No, I think, look, the overall point, I think, is fair and reasonable, which is this was an uncharacteristically soft defensive performance from Baltimore, and they did get beaten up physically by the Detroit Lions, a young offensive line predominantly, and a couple of veteran, offensive tackles. They got driven off the ball in a way they are not used to, and that's definitely a problem. And, you posted they are the worst defense in the NFL in terms of points allowed through 3 weeks. They're the worst defense in the NFL in terms of yards allowed through the first 3 weeks. Their defensive performance so far has been fairly catastrophic, and that is not what we associate with Baltimore Ravens football, whatever that is, as an amorphous, nebulous kind of concept, right? All fair. To be like, we've never seen this before, blah, 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 that's where you get Shouty Shows.
The first 3 weeks of 2022, they had that 35-14 blown lead against the Dolphins. So that was the first year of Mike Macdonald.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what are we going to Mike Macdonald? He's not ready. He's just a kid. He's just a boy. Doesn't know how to call the defense. But by week 7, I think they were good. And they turned things around.
The idea that we've never seen, the Baltimore Ravens defense give up some yards and some points is
There are
silly.
some concerns, though, on Baltimore's defense from Canty. That was a tame take.
Certainly by Canty standards, that was relatively...
usually makes it onto our show with some really hot takes. So there it is. Shouty Shows for today. We'll see if Baltimore can bounce back from being bullied. They get the Chiefs game. Do you think the Chiefs will bully them this week? They haven't bullied anybody up front.
If they do, then we've got some real problems.
Then we've got some real concerns. All right, man. FanDuel's getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. And if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? So you're going to visit FanDuel.com/CTM to download the FanDuel app and get started today. That's FanDuel.com/CTM. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. And today we're going to talk a little prop bet for Thursday Night Football. FanDuel has Seahawks starting quarterback Sam Darnold, his over-under at 223.5 passing yards. 223.5 13.5 passing yards. Seahawks, Cardinals tomorrow night. All part of our watch along. Be sure to join us, including Jorgen and Kyle, who just joined during the show here. Appreciate you guys joining, Superfan and Insider, respectively here.
Nice.
You'll be joining us for the watch along tomorrow night as we watch Sam Darnold, his over-under, 223.5.
Yeah, I am indeed contractually obliged to join us for the watch along. I am part of the watch along.
Did
Otherwise,
I say
it's just a watch? It's no along.
You'll be there. Yeah,
I will. Darnold.
So,
against the not even just feisty Cardinals defense now, just good. The good Cardinals defense.
Good Cardinals defense and a Seattle team that's had some inconsistency running the ball. I would say strange game flow the last couple of years, I think, because they're not running the ball that well. They're not really sustaining drives, but the defense is playing well. They got that big special teams touchdown 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh. But when Darnold has dropped back to throw, it's been very good. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Torrey Horton breaking out last week.
I believe he's the number 1 graded quarterback at BFF through 3 weeks.
I believe I saw that as well.
The Cardinals defense, it's been very good against the run, I think, and not so good against the pass. It's given up quite a lot of yardage in the pass game. So if you're leaning in one direction,
I'm gonna go over. I'm generally positive on these. We had James Cook's over last Thursday night, and he hit that in the second quarter. Let's say over for Darnold, and he gets it in the second quarter.
Wow.
Nah, maybe not the second quarter, but
that would be bold.
Mid third quarter. Sam Darnold. Darnold to JSN again.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals defense has been, again, much better against the run than it has been the pass. So, yeah, all right, let's go over.
All right, both taking the over. Over at FanDuel, FanDuel.com. Go check it out. And, join us. FanDuel.com/CTM. All right, we have a new intro. Is the new intro ready to go?
Now it's time for the Wednesday Update, brought to you by the Cincinnati Bugler.
It's the Bugler.
There we go.
Oh, we've got a few weeks now.
We got to get those hats. We got to get actual hats with the press.
If we should extend the intro a little bit more, and we could get into costume for it.
I mean,
That's what
we can put it
what do you think?
On camera.
Look, we are we're a pretty good little startup here. Check the mic, a little over a year, just got over 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. Appreciate that.
Yes.
If you want to be big time, you know, like what would Good Morning Football do? You know, they would get into costume for this. You know, they would throw on the Bugler hat and the
right. I'm
the
saying
sport
we
coat.
don't need. I'm saying we don't need to hide that. We can put the hat on. We don't need to be covered up or
put
the hat on.
I see. Nah, I think we'd come out of the intro and be like all Buglered
whilst wearing the hats,
all
like a surprise.
I was going to say we have a few weeks to get this thing going here, to get the Wednesday update, the Bugler going, to get a seat in the press box for the Bengals Thursday night football game against the
I have a
Steelers.
hat. I have a hat that would serve. I just need to get it. I just need to write press and put it in the brim.
You do. All right, it's our Wednesday update, starting with the New York Giants have named Jaxson Dart as their Week 4 starting quarterback. Russell Wilson, the era of Russell Wilson as the starting quarterback for the New York Giants lasted 3 games. A sandwich of different style games, 2 awful games sandwiched in between a Cowboys game, which, by the way, backs up Stephen A's take that maybe everybody's going to look good against Dallas. So, Jaxson Dart.
It is kind of funny that, if you told me that this was going to last a few weeks and then Jaxson Dart was going to go in, early or preseason or whatever, I would say, yeah, okay, I can see that, definitely. But then you get the one really good Russ week where he puts up 400 and you're like, I just bought him some time. He's not going to be. And then it's like, now 1 week later, all right, take a seat. That's it. Enough of you. The interesting thing, though, is the point that you made Monday when we talked about this. Evidently, they don't care that they are throwing the rookie out there against the Chargers defense. Jesse Minter, everything they're doing. That's not a fun debut.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn on that because we talk about that every year. I don't know why it was the Justin Fields conversation that stood out more, but this feels a lot like the Fields conversation where Andy Dalton got the start, and you see the groundswell of fans, social media, whatever, and nobody wants to see Andy Dalton, right? We know who Andy Dalton is. We
Right.
want to see the rookie, and as fans, you want to see the rookie, right? You want to see that guy, and it's the same thing. Like nobody wants to see Russell Wilson at this point in his career.
Sure.
As fans, you want to see what the rookie can do. So it's like, just get him out there. But during the Fields conversation, we're like, what's the easiest place to drop him in there? And we had this preseason conversation We didn't predict everything right through 3 weeks, but one thing we predicted is the Giants at some point could have a bad record with a year 4 coach, and they have to make a decision. When do you drop in Jaxson Dart? I remember going through the schedule thinking, well, you don't want to put him in against Spags in week 3. Mm-hmm. Chargers have a tough defense in week 4. Okay, Saints in week 5. But then that's a road game instead of a home game, right? So how do you balance that? Then they've got the Eagles, Broncos, and the Eagles.
Yeah.
So there is no good spot anywhere.
I mean, look, the Saints is on the
theoretically,
road,
it's like you're an NFL quarterback. You got to go play against them at some point anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the Saints may be on the road. I would still say that's the obvious point to drop them in if you want to give them a vaguely beneficial debut. Like, you've got Chargers defense, brutal. You've got Eagles defense, brutal. Denver's defense, brutal. Eagles defense, again, brutal. In the middle of all that is the Saints, who don't have a particularly good defense. Yes, it's on the road in a dome. It'll be noisy. However, I would say, given the current problems on the New York Giants offense, that's probably still the best place to drop him in.
What do we want to see now from Jaxson Dart?
Survival.
My take is always do what's best for the rookie, do what's best for 2026, and the uneven expectations, the uneven goals of Brian Daboll and Joe Shane being in year 4 together as a tandem versus the New York Giants. Like, if I'm taking over as GM next year, I don't care if they showed life in 2025.
First of all, whose call do you think this was?
Oh, I'm sure it's GM and coach that they had a plan.
This was the plan?
I
think 3
think
weeks of rust and then throw the kid out against an awful defense?
No, I think they have this halfway house. I live in this idealistic world.
Because this kind of been the plan. This wasn't the preseason plan.
I live in this idealistic world where you have this theoretical point in time where the quarterback is, quote, ready. And we can argue what that is, but we'll at least have an idea of what that is. Playbook mastery or a couple weeks of learning how to prepare, whatever that thing is. And I feel like they were coming into the season. I mean, I don't even know if anybody thinks realistically here. Do you think they sat there and they're like, man, we're just sitting on an 11, 12-win team here, and Russ is the guy right now? Look, I mean, Jackson's the future, but like, are these the conversations they're having in the preseason? We're an 11-win squad. I mean, we're going to be competing with the Eagles in the East, and so we're gonna give it a go with Russell Wilson. I don't think they're having those. I don't think they were like that.
No, I think
given the money that Russell Wilson made, right? So right. I think they were probably like, listen, we don't want to start Jaxson Dart. He needs some time to sit. It probably won't be the whole season, though, because let's be serious. We've seen Russ play. He's 38, 37, whatever he is. We've seen him play. It probably won't be the whole season. When that runs its course, we'll go with Jaxson Dart. Rather than we think it's best for Jaxson Dart to sit until week 10 or week 15 or next year or whatever. It was based off of how Russell Wilson in the offense was playing.
Yeah, so this always... I think that they were well aware that at some point this season, Jaxson Dart will be playing football, certainly in preseason when he started to look pretty good. And it's like, all right, maybe when we drafted him, we thought he would sit a whole year. And that's why we have Russ and Jameis, and we can turn to 2 veterans, and we can sit the rookie the whole time. Once he started to look pretty good in preseason and training camp, and, if you listen to the stuff the broadcasts are saying, like, the excitement in the building, blah, blah, blah. Once all that's true, then, yeah, he's going to play this year. The only question is when. And I can't imagine a world where they're planning out, because you're going to look at it preseason or before the year begins. You're like, what does the schedule look like? Like, when is the sensible time to kind of put the kid in? When do we think he's going to be playing? There's no way they were planning on it being now. But this always reminds me of the best example of this I can always think of. It always comes about sooner than you want it to, right? Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles was the 3rd overall pick of the draft back in.
Have you seen Bert Breer's list?
No.
Bert has. This is like his new thing. He has.
He's done that before. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got just a running Word doc.
Yeah.
Of I can read through some of it if you want, but yeah, go ahead.
But Blake Bortles was the 3rd overall pick back in 2014 or whenever it was, and everybody knew that he needed time. He shouldn't play, right? He should sit. He's gonna ideally he's gonna have the Carson Palmer treatment, right, where he sits the entire year, and year 2 is when we see him. And I think that lasted 2 or 3 weeks. And then it was like, you know what? The current situation is so bad. Whoever it is, Chad Henne is playing so terribly. We're losing games. We're over. you just got to throw him out there. Like, we don't have time. We put him out there. It doesn't matter if he's ready, and he's going to get murdered. But you just have to do it. And then that's exactly where the Giants are. They've lost 3 straight games. It's like, you know what? It's time. Put him in. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's against the Chargers. We need something. Russ can't beat the Chargers, so put in the kid.
Yeah, Bert's list had Bortles was week 4, 4th game.
Yeah.
And that's Lynch.
It always ends up being around then.
Mitch Trubisky, 5th game. And so Mitch Trubisky in 2017, they signed Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon's going to be the bridge quarterback. Well, Trubisky took over in game 5. Baker Mayfield in 2018, he really came in week 3 for Tyrod.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones, week 3.
It's always around a month.
2019.
With all the best intentions of the world,
Justin
things go
Fields,
south.
3rd game.
Yeah, things go south on a bad team, and it takes 3 or 4 games, and you got to throw in the kid.
Ironically, Drake May last year in Game 6, when I believe they were probably 1-5 or 1-4 at the time. Maybe they won another game in there? I don't know. Ironically, I feel like Gerard Mayo's Patriots had the best plan for a quarterback.
Well, they'd at least been preparing him all the way to do this.
They knew, they felt like they didn't do this whole thing like Jacoby Brissett's the starter, Drake May's the backup, he's got to earn it. They were like, no, we're preparing this guy, and he's going to play this year at some point, and we'll let you know when he's ready. But the thing I hate the most, and it might just be me reading sentiment more than reading what the Giants are doing. The sentiment on Sunday night as Russell Wilson in that offense is falling apart and they're in the red zone and he's running a QB draw to nowhere and throwing the ball away into the stands for grounding calls, and it's awful. Everybody's like, just get him out of here. Give me Jaxson Dart. Let me see the kid. I got to see the kid. And I just hope that's not how organizations are run. That they're just like, Russ is so bad. We need Dart. We need a spark. We need life. Because unless Jaxson Dart is unbelievable and they go on like a 10-2 run here, the Giants probably aren't making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you don't need a spark for this year. You need Jaxson Dart to be at his best a year from now. So you get to improve the offensive line, you get another receiver, and you want him at his best a year from now. You don't need a spark for the 2025 Giants. And you want a spark for the 2025 Giants? You know who the spark is. Jameis Winston. You have a spark. If you're trying to save the 2025 Giants, that's Jameis Winston. If you're trying to develop Jaxson Dart, I'm not saying it's not this week, but it might not. It doesn't have to be, right? Even though he's listed as the backup. So you do what's best for Jaxson Dart and his development.
I will say, I feel like Russ has been treated relatively unfairly in this whole sort of situation. Like, it hasn't just been – it's felt a little bit like Kurt Warner and Eli, when that was the dynamic. Like, Warner wasn't playing out of his mind, but neither was he the problem. And it's like, let's throw out Eli now. And Warner, I think, felt hosed by that, and I kind of agree with him. I think Warner was hard done by the way that whole – situation unfolded.
Yeah, but the future of the Giants was Eli Manning. That's what they had to do. That's what they had to do.
I think you can do that without specifically screwing over the guy that's in the lineup to begin with. Like Russell Wilson. So I think a big dynamic here, or a big variable at play, is Andrew Thomas is back. So we have our left tackle back, the one really good player on the offensive line. And even when he was back, it's like, he's only going to go out there for 25 snaps or whatever just to get his feet wet and get warmed up. And then we'll take him out of the lineup again and screw the starting quarterback. But it's so that he's ready for next week for the kid, It's like, so you put him back in the lineup. He shuts down Chris Jones and the Chiefs blockers. And then you're like, all right, that's enough of that. Good luck, Russ. The rookie's out here for the 5th-round rookie's going to be taking it the rest of the way home. Just enjoy that, but know that Andrew Thomas is over here, in bubble wrap for the kid next week,
That's better. That's good long-term planning.
It is both. It is both good long-term planning. Like, you absolutely need Andrew Thomas out there for the rookie. It is also directly screwing Russell Wilson.
By the way, Kurt Warner signed in June of 2004 with the Giants, according to the Google AI, so there's no way it's wrong. And the draft was in April. So Kurt Warner signed with the Giants.
No, he didn't get screwed because...
But what you're getting into.
But he got screwed because the way that season was unfolding.
He got screwed because he couldn't handle a snap. Okay, he fumbled like 100 times that year. That's what happened.
The situation around him was extremely bad. I don't think he was playing that badly. And they're like, you know what, we're throwing in the rookie.
You got to look it up. look up how many times he was dropping snaps.
I'm sure he didn't play like
Or
he's definitely. It was the worst season of his career. I'm not saying he was like lights out, beyond the pale, amazing. I'm saying that I think he got relatively scapegoated so they could put in Eli Manning, which is not the first time the Giants have done that. Like the Giants have a history of this type of behavior institutionally. Of once we've determined there's a future, you're basically dead to us. You can have the position all you like, but your role here is ceremonial and irrelevant. And if you are the altar on which we have to sacrifice this season, that's fine, because the only important thing is the kid.
He had a career high 12 fumbles in only 9 games.
Right.
So that's also what happened, and it was time for Eli to take over. Anyway,
but then Eli came in and played terribly as well.
I have one more Russell Wilson, Jaxson Dart take and opinion here, because I was interviewed for someone in Giants media yesterday about this. And I forget who put the take out there, like Malik Neighbors is just running deep all day. Like, why aren't they using Malik Neighbors? And I go back to even at Russell Wilson's prime with Seattle, it felt like people in the building in Seattle didn't fully trust him, right? Not just let him cook and let him throw 45 times a game, but there was something about the way he played stylistically. And you saw this on the field. There were games where he was incredible, and there were games where he just didn't see the field. And you didn't know what you were going to get. And it was very tough to game plan as the offensive coordinator for Russell Wilson. And I wonder, and so a lot of times when you see an offense and you're like, this offense is stale, and it's not doing this, and it's not doing that, a lot of times it's the coaches saying, we don't trust the quarterback to execute all of that. We don't trust him to see it the way he needs to. I wonder if that's happened. Because a lot of Russell Wilson's career, that was it. Like, why didn't you just throw this on-time little 5-yard hitch? Why didn't you throw this? Why didn't you throw that? But he made up for it with a high, when he had a lot of play action opportunities. He made up for it with a great deep ball, with scrambling ability, and with general playmaking feel. Right? That's how Russell Wilson played. Now that that's gone, it's very difficult to have a good Russell Wilson game unless he's hitting on 900 deep balls like he did against Dallas, And so my question is the offense stale because it's Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll and they're just stale, or do they bust out the good plays now for Jaxson Dart? Do they start to actually open it up a little bit more?
Further screwing Russ.
No, it's not. You're not hearing me. They don't trust. Which coaches have trusted Russell Wilson? Going back to Seattle, when he was in this like fringe elite category, people did not trust him from an offensive game plan's perspective. You saw that.
I don't think it's a case.
In Seattle, in Denver, in Pittsburgh, and now with the Giants.
I don't think it's a case of necessarily not trusting him. I think the way Russell Wilson plays the game has always been unique and is difficult to. You can't just plug him into a regular offense and say it needs to look the same as all these other quarterbacks. It's different, and it's inherently flawed in a way that it isn't with some other quarterbacks. And I think it drove offensive coordinators nuts to try and figure out how to maximize, like, what is the optimal output of this style of game, because the way he plays, it's a little bit like Cam Newton, where for several years, multiple different coaches and schemes were sort of input to try and get the most optimal version of Cam Newton. Like, they tried a lot of different things, each of which only made it worse. Like, well, if he's sort of generally inaccurate, why don't we just make all the passes really short? That way, like, he's got a much better chance of completing them. It's like, yeah, but now you take away the things that was making him special in the first place, which was the dynamic deep ball, the explosives, like the high value play. By trying to improve his completion rate, you took away all those good plays, and now you've just made everything worse. Like, this is kind of the Russell Wilson thing. The way he played the game with extending plays, the moon ball, blah, 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 that is not the most efficient way of playing football. And you have to be insanely good at that to make it worth the same as a guy who's just able to play efficient by the numbers football. And then there was also the sort of weird thing of, even when he was at his best, he never thrived in an environment where you had to have him pass, 50 times in a game, which is part of the same problem. Like, he's inconsistent, volatile, very dependent on those giant field swinging explosive plays. But if you need him to drop back 50 times a game, he's just not that type of quarterback.
But I
don't think it's a case of like, I don't trust this guy. It's like he's not the same as these other quarterbacks.
Let me
I don't quite know how to maximize that.
Just to handle what people are saying in the chat, and understand what I'm saying here. It's not about, maybe trust isn't the right word, but look, talk to people in Seattle. You could sense it when he was there. They ran a different offense for him.
Yeah.
He was a very good under center or just play action, throw the ball down the field quarterback. And I know the stats were very good, but it was very difficult to say, well, he's great on 30 dropbacks. Let's extrapolate that out and give him 40 dropbacks. It didn't happen because he doesn't run quick game efficiently. He doesn't run certain elements of the quarterback position as efficiently as others, whereas what he does well was better than a lot of others, was throw the ball down the field, extend plays, use his legs when he needed. He was excellent at that. And, of course, the stats were great. And honestly, I think that's where the stat nerds lose it a little bit with like EPA per play or passer rating or yards per attempt. Like that was geared toward a downfield passing attack where he excelled. And what I'm saying is when the Giants offense looks stale, I think it's because they don't run quick game. They don't run things that Russ isn't great at. And now that stuff might be opened up a bit more with Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, look, there were times in his career where he had a reasonable volume of pass attempts, but I looked into this at the time because during the let Russ cook era, right, whenever exactly that was.
That stretch, 2019 until about week 12 or 13, first half of 2020, there was a stretch where he was excellent.
Yeah. But there was also so that was the sort of time where people were like, look, just turn it over to him, let him do everything. He's amazing, and why are we limiting him with this sort of volume of passing attack? When you looked at it in terms of the games where he had to pass a large volume of the time, right? These sort of high volume quarterback driven games, he was statistically demonstrably worse at those than other quarterbacks that, he was in the same kind of category with overall. All pro caliber quarterbacks, high end Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks. So I think it's fair to say that this offense was always, everybody spent the entire time trying to work out what the optimal way of running an offense that maximizes what Russell Wilson does well is. I would be careful about saying that suggested a lack of trust in Russell Wilson. I think it was just an awareness that it isn't going to look the same as it would look if we're trying to maximize the skills of Peyton Manning or the skills of whatever, right? It has to be a different system. Now, the other thing is there's two Russell Wilsons. There's the guy that was playing out of his mind in Seattle and was an all-pro, and there's the current version of the guy that's like drowning for the Giants, right? These are not the same players. And even if they were, the game has moved on slightly. Teams defend differently now than they did back then. It's a whole different world. So now I think you might be right in saying there's a lack of trust in what Russell, like you can't run a bunch of stuff with Russell Wilson, even if you could back when he was playing at his pomp in Seattle. It's a little bit like Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix last year, right? There are things that cannot be in the playbook if Kirk Cousins is your quarterback, or at least last year's version of Kirk Cousins. Who knows what he looks like now? There are things that probably can't be in the playbook if Russell Wilson is the quarterback. Those are probably on the table again with Jaxson Dart as the quarterback. That's the dynamic.
I mean, my description of Russ in Seattle was 3 or 4 times a year he looks like a top 3, top 5 quarterback. He had some unreal games in Seattle. His best work was on a more low volume downfield passing attack. That's what it was. That's how they used him. When they tried to get away from that, it was not as effective. That's my point. Lack of trust, whatever you want to call it, but that's the way he played in Seattle. And the results were very, very good. But now it's difficult to play that style for the way the league's evolved, and he's getting older, and he's not as dynamic. And there's all of his games the last couple of years, boom or bust, downfield throwing, right? He throws the ball down the field 10 times, which I love as a style, by the way, right? Because when it hits, you have the Dallas game. When it doesn't hit, you have the Chiefs game, where there's multiple interceptions and you don't hit on any of those downfield throws and you score 9 points. It's fine, but that's what he is. And I think the same way when Tommy DeVito took over for Daniel Jones a couple years ago, I remember thinking like, oh, Daboll's they're running Y leak, they're running all these, they were running some good plays for Tommy. It felt like they felt like they needed to scheme it up for Tommy a little bit more because he needed some help. I could see them doing that for Jaxson Dart, getting more of the playbook out there, or more creativity, we'll say, for Jaxson Dart to help the rookie. Whereas Russell had his style, and they played his style.
Yeah. I mean, look, I expect Jaxson Dart to struggle because I think that the offense is probably not very good. Andrew Thomas being back is huge. If they're able to use Malik Neighbors in more ways than they seem to be using him in the first few weeks, that will help as well. But generally speaking, I think this is probably not a great situation to throw a rookie into. Jaxson Dart is obviously the future of this team, was from the moment they drafted him. I don't really love the way they've sort of handled the Russell Wilson thing. I think he's been harshly done by. I don't love the idea that this is almost certainly not the plan originally. Let's put him in against the Chargers.
Not again, like I think it was the plan at some point Jaxson Dart was going to take over somewhere.
Yeah, but
between
it's not.
weeks
This is
3
not
and 8,
driven. This is not driven by. You know what? Jaxson Dart just looks so good in practice that it's his time. This is driven by they're 0-3 and Russell Wilson had a bad game last week, so it's time to throw in the kid. That's my problem with this, and that's always the issue I think with these things. That run that Burt Breer has, like it wasn't the plan for every one of those quarterbacks to play week 4 or week 3. Like that's ridiculous. That's an accelerated time frame based off the fact that the team stinks and you're trying to get either the media off your back or you're trying to find a spark and win a game out of nowhere. That's the problem with this. Like it's not. If you have a game plan, stick to the game plan, and that, to their credit,
that's
is
what I've
what
always
the Patriots
said. Right?
Did.
Whatever the plan is, you stick with it.
Right. That, to their credit, is what the Patriots did last year. Now, I thought that was a bad idea as well, just because I thought the situation was so bad it would be detrimental to his development. But they were like, no, we have a game plan, and regardless of what's going on, the kid's going in when we think he's ready, and they appear to have been right on that. What I think is bad process is, if you have a plan to play the kid, it's going to take him half the season, however long, whatever your rough idea is, but the actual decision is driven by the other things. It's driven by the fact that the starter is playing badly, that we haven't won a game yet, and that the New York media market is clamoring for the rookie. That's bad process.
Yeah, we don't want to make this on the media. Don't want to react to the media. Oh, we got to see Jaxson Dart as the media. No, I mean, I think the biggest thing is you've got Daboll and Shane want to show something in the quarterback that they drafted. Curious to see how this plays out, how the offense looks. Real quick, Jaxson Dart, we'll talk about it tomorrow in the preview. What should we expect from Jaxson Dart from a skill set perspective? What did we like, not like coming out of the draft, and keeping an eye on what those things are as he takes over.
Yep.
Other news. Nick Bosa officially out for the season, ACL. Niners are still 3-0, but yet another injury. A lot of the injuries had hit the offensive side of the ball. Now missing Bosa on a defensive line that's done a nice job so far this season. Bryce Huff breaking out, and they've got some rookies that they're hoping continue to progress here, but a huge loss with Bosa going on IR here.
Huge loss, and particularly because this is the first one for the 49ers where it's like season ending. The other one's like, okay, these are big losses as well, but we expect to get them back at some point. Quarterback, Brock Purdy, obviously, Brandon Ayuk, these are guys that are supposed to be added back to the lineup at some point. And so a huge part of their season so far has been, they're winning games without playing that well, without having all these guys healthy. And when they get them back, great. Well, you're not getting Nick Bosa back. He's done for the year. So now you need to go, well, okay, how can we replace what we had in Nick Bosa? And honestly, I don't think you can do that without adding somebody to this roster that isn't already there. In terms of internal solutions, Bryce Huff is going to have to play more football. He's at least shown already that whatever happened to him in Philadelphia was weird and an apparition and not an anomaly in his career. He's still a really good pass rusher. The plan might be, hey, you're going to play a lot more. I still don't care if you defend the run. Don't even think about it. Just go after the quarterback every play and we'll deal with the run stuff. But you're going to be playing more snaps because we need it. Mykel Williams is going to have to be a bigger part of this. He's going to have to assume a larger degree of responsibility. And then I imagine they're going to be in the trade market. Like, let's see if anybody is packing up the season in the next few weeks and get on the phone.
The flashes from rookie first-rounder Mykel Williams have been really good. They've moved him around a bit, had him lining up over guards as well. He's got that length it's difficult for blockers. And we've seen some really nice plays from him. Wasn't as polished of a pass rusher as we would have liked coming out. So again, he's got to grow up quickly here.
Yeah.
So they have some bodies up front. If they are in the trade market, the name I've mentioned is Arden Key, which might not sound very exciting, but as a final year of his contract player for the Titans, they have a second rounder, Femi Oladejo behind him. That could be a guy. They have Draymond Jones there as well in Tennessee. So they, as their season, presumably at some point they're going to be looking forward and might try to try to trade a couple players to get some draft picks as they're rebuilding. Those two players come to mind. You mentioned the Dolphins.
Yeah. I mean, the Dolphins are the most obvious fire sale candidate I can think of this season. Where
I'm looking at teams that would love to go into the draft next year with 10 picks instead of 7 and probably aren't going to win this year. And if the Dolphins continue down that path, I think that's a good call.
Miami, in the next couple of weeks could decide to literally press the detonation button and blow up this entire roster and, fire people and move on and all those kinds of things. So, that's an obvious source of phone calls, like whether it's Jalen Phillips, I think, is the guy I would be most interested in that roster if I was 49ers. But, Jalen Phillips, they've got all those edge rushers that we've been talking about of being relatively underwhelming so far this season. But any of them, I think, I'd be picking up the phone if I'm San Francisco and inquiring about it. They've got some money to play with. They don't have – it's money that they would have wanted to allocate to future years. So it's not like, hey, look, they can, make these crazy moves. Look at this cash. It's like, yeah, but they don't have that many players long-term under contract. This is money that would have been allocated to future years that they might have to spend this year, which is a bit annoying for their point of view.
Also an interesting one for the Niners, who I said this year's draft class was as important as any because, like the Dolphins, they had some depth depleted over the last couple of years. They drafted in high volume this year. I don't know if I'm ready to give up a ton of draft capital if I'm the 49ers.
Right.
I think they still have some work to do.
Agreed.
To reshape this roster. So I don't know, even though they're 3-0, despite all the injuries, do they really want to have like a go-for-it year versus,
the other obvious sort of trade candidate team would be the Saints. They can't possibly think that they're going to win it this year. They've got, a player like Carl Granderson would be pretty interesting if you could prize him out of New Orleans.
You're going to send their only good player?
Right.
Yeah. Cameron Jordan's 37, probably. Did he announce his retirement yet?
I don't know,
at the end of the season? I assume it's
I wouldn't be
close.
interested in bringing him in either.
They just re-signed Chase Young, who's been banged up.
It's always self-evaluation, and these, like 3-0 is great. If you're the 49ers, you have to ask yourself, can we realistically contend this year? And is that answer different if we have a better pass rusher added to the team, right? Like, does Nick Bosa make the difference between a Super Bowl contender and a team that will or can make the playoffs but actually can't beat other teams once we're there without Nick Bosa? If the answer to that is yes, well, then you have to start looking at trade candidates.
So from that same game, Arizona Cardinals, they lost running back James Conner. He's out for the season as well with an ankle injury.
Brutal.
Yeah, tough for Connor. I mean, I know he's been one of your favorites to watch these last couple of years, but just the last few years in Arizona, like his last year in Pittsburgh, his last few years in Arizona, just a dependable, kind of one of the few bell cow type of backs around the league. Trey Benson, last year's third rounder, first in line to replace him. I know a lot of people did like Benson. We liked Benson coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Huge blow for Arizona, though, with what Connor had been bringing to that offense.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so good. He's powerful. He's dynamic. He's difficult to tackle. He's a great, sort of human interest story as well because of defeating cancer way back when. And that should never be forgotten just in terms of wanting to root for the guy. But, yeah, it's a big blow for him. It's just it's like a horrible, unfortunate way for it to happen as well. Like a couple of guys in the tackle, which it's, usually takes a couple of guys in the tackle to bring him down. And his leg just got twisted back the wrong way and something had to give. Yeah, they're reasonably well positioned to try and absorb that loss because of the rest of that depth chart, but a big blow for them.
So keep an eye on Benson. Really like him. Najee Harris, Achilles injury. We talked about that on Sunday. Just kind of went down on a play-action fake. Justin Herbert jumped over him, made a throw. But Najee, difficult offseason, obviously, as well. Throw the Achilles in there, so just going to see more from Marion Hampton here.
Yeah, well, almost exclusively, you would imagine, Marion Hampton at this point.
There we go.
That's all I got on that one.
Replacement, first rounder, Marion Hampton.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb, ankle, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, out a couple games per Ian Rappaport, not confirmed by the Cowboys as of record time right here. More pressure on George Pickens as wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense in terms of the way that injury happened, what it looked like, the fact that they tried to put him back out there and it took one snap for him to just be like, nope. A couple of weeks for him, and that makes that offense a lot more rudimentary and one-dimensional without him.
It's one of those. Look, I know George Pickens can be a hot button issue because he's got some high-end plays, and then last week, a drop that leads to an interception. But if they had not made the George Pickens trade, then it really looks bad. Because, I mean, you're talking about a bottom 5 group of pass catchers. It's tough, like, if you were ranking pass catchers and they had one CeeDee Lamb and a whole bunch of unknowns, even though you'll have a Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert, but you're not stacking those guys up as
that's
number 2 wide receivers around the rest of the league and feeling good about it.
That's the Devontae Adams offense for most of his career.
Yeah. So it's like if you're just ranking pass catchers, that one elite receiver holds a ton of weight where you say, well, I can't put them bottom 5 or bottom 8 because they have CeeDee Lamb. Maybe they're 20th. But once you take that out, it's like, now they're 32.
Yeah.
Right? Now they're worst. And so at least they have Pickens, and I think he's been a little hit or miss as the guy. Like some games it looks good, some games it doesn't. So he's just been inconsistent throughout his career, but there's a lot more pressure on him now for Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike Evans with another hamstring. It's been low grade to moderate has been the report. We're looking at about 3 to 4 weeks. And I would say this is it's a buy low from a fantasy perspective because when Mike Evans comes back, they're going to feed him because he's got to get over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
So you buy low while he's injured, and then week 7 or 8, whatever it is, when he comes back, you're gonna get high end Mike Evans because Baker and the Bucs are gonna feed Evans.
That must be so frustrating as a wide receiver to be one of those guys that just has kind of chronic hamstring problems. Hamstring's the most frustrating injury in the world for anybody that has to run because you can't ever feel confident on it again. Like, I have no idea how a guy goes back from a hamstring injury. You hear all the time, it's like 90%. 90% is not a healthy hamstring.
No, that 10% of doubt.
I can't sprint
difficult.
anymore, right? Because you're never going to know if it's healthy until you have to finally sprint full speed, and that's when it goes again, and you're right back to square one. In fact, you're behind square one because you probably made it even worse than it was when you first did it. I have no earthly idea how these guys come back and play football in the NFL at 100% with a dodgy hamstring.
So something to keep an eye on. Anytime you have a hamstring in the season, you never really know. And there's so many times guys come back, they last a few plays, then they're out again. So it's something to keep an eye on. And it further comes back to when we talk about the draft and looking at, well, this team needs this and needs that. And I always come back to needs change daily. Chris Godwin is on the verge of coming back at least for the Bucs. But at probably, he might be at 80 or 90% of his previous ability, right? Just as he was starting to get it going last year. But the Emeka Egbuka pick looks better every single week for the Bucs, not only because he's looking like a really good player, but because, again, you could have easily looked at the Bucs and said they have Mike Evans, they have Chris Godwin coming back, they have Jalen McMillan, who they feel great about in round 3.
People are like, it's not a need. You know why? It's like, in fact, if anything, it's like a frivolous spending of a draft pick because look at all these players they've got. And suddenly all it takes is Chris Godwin not to be ready, which was probably predictable. McMillan, a freak injury, and he's out of the picture completely. And then Mike Evans gets his customary annual hamstring injury, and suddenly they're all gone.
Yeah.
And now you're relying on this guy as your number 1 wide receiver. Not just part of the offense, but like he's the only guy.
And even when Evans was out there, game-winning touchdown in week 1, and he's looked great. I will repeat once again, I'm not saying best player available is like this nebulous kind of term, but do not criticize draft picks if it doesn't fill a need. Do not come out of the draft pick, they didn't fill a need with this one.
Well,
the only time you could justify it is when if you have like 2 long-term offensive tackles locked up, and then you draft a tackle and he can't play guard. I mean, there are some times. But
I think
even
you
then,
make
you
the
just
argument,
pick the best players.
Quarterback out, independent, quarterback's its own thing. I would move that to the side. Outside of quarterback, I think you can make the argument that you cannot be so stocked that it does not make sense to draft a player that you think is really good at a given position. Because even if you have a pair of all-pro bookend offensive tackles, if one of them rips his Achilles apart in week 1, right? What's your problem? If worst case scenario,
especially given, let's just talk about this for a second. Given when starting tackles went down in the preseason,
that's what I'm saying.
Caleb McGarry for the Falcons, and then you're scrambling. You're like, where around the league am I going to find another starting tackle?
The absolute worst case scenario in that dynamic is that you have a guy that you think is one of the best swing tackles or even just backup left tackles in the NFL if and when the worst happens, right? And if it doesn't happen, he's just kicking his heels on the sideline. That's still not bad. The good case scenario is, well, you're one of those teams where if their tackle goes down hurt, you actually have a contingency plan that isn't a guy that belongs stacking shelves at Amazon, right? And that's huge. So I don't think there's a world where you should be saying, no, we're so stocked at this position, this is a waste of a draft pick. Because you don't know if you're stocked until you get 6 weeks into the season. You see who got hurt.
And in most positions, it's not just waiting for an injury. Receiver, there's a way to get them involved in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. Cornerback, there's a way to get them involved. Edge rusher, of course you want to roll 8 deep on the defensive line. So my PSA every 2 weeks, don't criticize teams for non-need draft picks. I think the Bucs are looking pretty smart here for the Abuka pick so far. All right, it's roadside assistance time. Quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or if you lock your keys in your car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. And today, we are providing roadside assistance somehow for the Houston Texans. 0-3 start after the preseason hype. How can the Houston Texans get it back on track?
Well, diagnosing the problem first and foremost. You've got to zero in on the offensive line and protections generally, right? Like, let's broaden it beyond just the 5 guys that are out there. Like, they are still demonstrating a complete inability to set protections correctly, to identify stunts and pass them off. Like, the technique and the schematic parts of the protection, as well as just guys are getting beat one-on-one.
Yeah, for the second straight year, that's an issue. Now,
despite a change in responsibilities, obviously, with the coaches.
The receivers probably deserve a little bit of blame as well. There's multiple ways to protect the quarterback. Offensive line, obviously the quarterback's role in setting protections to make sure that if there is an unblocked rusher, you have an answer behind that, right, and knowing where that's coming from. And then the receivers getting open and separating. This is where maybe they deserve some blame as well. We love Nico Collins. He's been great. Are they not getting enough from Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll? I would love to see both of those guys involved in the offense a bit more, especially Higgins. Now, he's not like a dynamic separator, but a big body that you could trust. And I think they should use Higgins a little bit more out there. And from an offensive line perspective, I don't know how we provide roadside assistance for them, other than you got to block it up better and get on the same page with the quarterback.
Yep.
For the second straight year.
Interestingly, they're not that high in terms of pressure rate or pressures allowed as an offense. Like, you sort of watch them play, and it feels like this is the worst pass protecting unit we've seen in years. You know, CJ Stroud must be under pressure 60% of his snaps.
It's not in volume; it's the number of plays that are dead on arrival. Right?
That's the thing. It's like it isn't actually that they're just getting beaten every single play. It's completely, non-workable for the entire game long. It's like when they lose, it's horrible, and they lose a lot with there's an unblocked rusher. Like, these are. I don't understand why it's taken them now like a year and a month to get anybody. How are they still unable to identify where the pressure's coming from?
I don't know. And it's across multiple schemes now.
Yes. Multiple coaches, multiple areas of responsibility. Like they should last year.
It's a different group of players, though, too. I mean, Titus Howard's back.
Right.
It's mostly a different group across the board.
But it's different. Like, different people are responsible for setting the protection now. Yeah. Like, it's last year there was people made a big deal of the fact that Bobby sort of prescribed the protection. Right, this is the play. This is what the protection is called. Run the play. And now this offseason we were all talking about, well, CJ Stroud's going to have that responsibility now. Well, that doesn't change anything. Why are we still setting the protection wrong and not identifying the right guy? Like, I don't understand.
And then we're getting to this point where you're looking at Stroud's career now and his run and say, okay, excellent rookie season, was great. It was now what looks like the peak of the Shanahan scheme where him and Tua and Brock Purdy were all great that year. They led the league, the top 3 in yards per attempt. Last year came back down to earth, and you're trying to figure out where the blame lies. We put most of the blame on the offensive line being unprepared and or just pass protection generally, and you still have that same question. And now it's not so much can Stroud handle it, but like we've talked about with young quarterbacks all the time, how much does that affect how you play the position, even when you're in a clean pocket, because you're dealing with being under pressure and again, not necessarily from a volume perspective, but from a right in your face very quickly perspective. How does that affect how you play the game? Because now we've seen Stroud make some bad decisions that he probably shouldn't have made these first few weeks that have come back to bite Houston. So got to figure it out up front. Feed Jaden Higgins as the complement to Nico Collins and get the offense back on track.
I mean, the only things they really can change are using the 2 rookie wide receivers more.
Yeah,
like that's basically the only variable we can move.
They've been rotating heavily. I mean, I was a Xavier Hutchinson fan a couple of years ago, and Christian Kirk's there. Like they've been rotating a lot. I would love to see the rookies be featured a little bit more. The 2 Iowa State guys, maybe moving Noel around, slot, outside, take a couple shots. It is amazing how different this offense, by the way, has looked without Tank Dell. He has made he was so good as a rookie, as a dependable option for C.J. Stroud, and you don't have that dependable option next to Nico Collins that's been established yet. But I think they have the answers are on the roster, other than offensive line. I can't say that confidently. I think there's receiver options on the roster that are good. I can't say it confidently about the offensive line, and it was a bit of an experiment, right? I mean, I don't want to say they neglected it, but they got afterthoughts on the offensive line. And a second-round tackle for the second straight year, that's a touch of an afterthought. We're seeing Patrick Paul playing well in year 2 as a second-rounder. It takes time for those guys, so maybe Arante Ursary is going to be okay, but it takes time. Laken Tomlinson, like a third-wave free agent. So that's where we are right now.
They also, I think at this point they need to make a concerted effort of getting the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands as fast as possible. Like he's middle of the pack in average time to throw at the moment. He needs to be one of the fastest 3 quarter. Like Baker Mayfield is second in the NFL in average time to throw. Baker Mayfield does usually not reside second in the NFL in average time to throw, but Baker Mayfield's offensive line right now is 5 paper bags. So he's just getting rid of the ball as fast as he can, even with, late game scrambles and heroics and all that kind of stuff. Like generally they have gone, Baker, it's going to be rough for a month. You're going to have to figure it out and get rid of that ball, right? And that's what's happening. Mahomes is kind of doing the same thing. Mahomes getting rid of the ball faster than he ever has before to try and offset some of the problems. Stroud's not doing that, and I think he needs to.
And then the last thing I'll say for roadside assistance, continue to trust the defense. I love the defense, the pass rush, what Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are doing, what the defensive tackles are contributing, like Sheldon Rankins. I think they're built the right way defensively. They should be in every game. Just got to get a little bit better offensively. It's your roadside assistance for the Houston Texans. We're doing our best, man. It's not like you can go make a ton of trades or anything like that at this point, Got to do what you can. Mm-hmm. All right, with the NFL season here, all our schedules, we're getting busy, Sam. Sometimes you only have a couple minutes to prep a meal, whether it's in a microwave or in an oven. Factor helps you eat smarter with tasty, chef-prepared meals that are delivered right to your door. Factor has more than 65 weekly meals made for how you live and what you like to eat. Choose from a wider selection of meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost, with the new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good-for-you fats. The fats that are good for you.
Yep.
Factor helps you support your wellness goals. 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life.
With those good-for-you fats.
It's good for you, Fats. Tell us, Fats, about your experience with Factor.
It's awesome stuff. Box of food arrives at the door, and it's microwavable goodness in 3 minutes or so, and I think it's the average for these things. And yeah, it's good stuff.
I loved it. I don't always eat my veggies, but they're right there.
They're in there.
Right?
You gotta eat them. They're
good
with
and
stuff.
Healthy, protein and veggies. Every single diet basically says eat protein, eat veggies. All the good diets, right? So it is extremely healthy, and the salmon and the shrimp and everything. It travels well, and it tastes great. So I've enjoyed my experience with Factor. So you can also eat smart at factormeals.com/CTM50off and use code CTM50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. What a deal. That's code CTM50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus a free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase.
Before we go on to our next thing, we got a new person in the chat, and they were so nice about it. I think we should answer that question. I'm going to put you on a time limit, though. You're going to have 60 seconds and no more to answer this question. So from Eric Martin, he says he's heard the tall guy talk about how he used to play baseball, but he wanted to know what brought you to want to be a football journalist / commentator, and if you've ever tried to play football.
Never played football. I am a 2-time flag football champion in college, though. So I did that. Get fired up. Loved it. I was at the end of my baseball career. I used to study pitching left and right. Always loved football. Football is always the passion. I put all my energy at the end of my baseball career into studying football. Kept my mind away from the pressures of trying to make the big leagues when I was in AAA. And then I sent an email to PFF, do you need help? Because all their stuff was expensive, like $100, and I couldn't afford it. So I wanted to get the data for free. And then I was good at the stuff, and they asked me to join. And then I retired in the same year the PFF offered to be a full-time job, and here we are 15 years later or whatever it is, and we're doing football.
It feels like you would have made a good football player because of your size, and yet
I was soft. I was kind of soft.
I was trying to think who's the – I didn't want to name names because I think I'm thinking of the wrong person, but like who is one of those sort of athletic freak tight ends that was actually kind of soft, and that's why they weren't that great in the NFL?
Scott Chandler.
It's not who I was thinking of, but anyway, you would be one of those guys.
Fedorowicz.
People are looking at you being like, why is that guy not a monster?
Tim Tebow.
It's because he doesn't want to get hit.
Tim Tebow was a bad blocker.
Well, yeah, he was just bad. Like, he wasn't soft.
No, he wasn't.
But there are guys that have been, athletically look like they should be amazing tight ends, and they're kind of soft, so they haven't been good.
No, would have been bad. Would have been a bad football player. Yeah. I wasn't even a physical basketball player. I mean, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
So pitching was good. Just chucking a ball
Very
at
limited
people.
hitting there.
But yeah, enjoy the football career now. I didn't realize we got this whole. We talked a lot about Russ and Jaxson Dart. Okay.
It's easy. We can do this.
We're just going to go through quickly. We're going to fly through. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Which NFL teams are elite?
Right. Actual, legitimate Super Bowl contenders after 3 weeks.
So we have 3-0 teams.
Some of them are easy.
Yeah. Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis Colts, Los Angeles Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, Tampa Bay Bucks, and San Francisco 49ers are all 3-0. Of this group, who do we feel good about? Which teams are elite here?
I mean, preseason, you would have said what? There's half a dozen teams maybe that you would say are genuine Super Bowl contenders going into the season. Buffalo is one of them. They're 3-0. That's still good. The Eagles were one of them. They're 3-0. That's still good. So 2 of those teams are undefeated and therefore obvious.
Bills and Eagles living up to expectations. So yes. Have the Colts joined this group?
I'm not ready to put the Colts in there. I would put the Chargers in there, though, who are another 3-0 team that have surprised to a degree. I don't think the Chargers were a team that many people would have said were Super Bowl contenders heading into the season. I think you probably have to put them in there now. They look great. Justin Herbert is playing out of his mind, and I think we've always acknowledged that he has the talent to be one of those quarterbacks, and the defense is one of the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, the Chargers were a playoff team last year, and through 3 weeks, seemingly have solved one of my biggest offseason questions was who's catching passes besides Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston has been great. Keenan Allen has been a great pickup.
Yep.
Herbert's playing the best football. I don't want to say that, but he's playing really good football. Not the best of his career, but he's playing well, and I think he can continue it because he's been a good quarterback throughout most of his career. And so, yeah, I like the Chargers in this bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Colts really quick here. Colts are 3-0, and I'm very consistent with this. Geno Smith, his first few games as a starter, as far as the rejuvenation project. Baker Mayfield, his few games as a starter. Sam Darnold, we talked all the time about Sam Darnold's had 3 and 4 week stretches. Let's see him do it. Now, in all of those cases, they did extend that enough that you felt good about those guys as starters, right? Even though Geno's struggling right now. But that's my same take on Daniel Jones and the Colts. I think it's a good situation. I want to see more. I want to see more than an extended run from a short run from Daniel Jones. And I think it's fair in hindsight to say, well, they've beaten up on the Dolphins and the Titans.
Right.
Impressive in the middle with Denver, I want to see them do it against some better teams.
Yeah, look, they are now in pole position, obviously, in that division to win it and make the playoffs. I'm still not ready to say that they can go on a run in the AFC and go through, 4 very good teams to win a Super Bowl. So I'm not ready to say they're a legitimate elite contender.
Bucks, as an elite team, they're going to go head-to-head with the fellow 3-0 Eagles, who they did beat last year.
Yeah.
Reminder.
So the Bucks is an interesting thing because there's kind of a time frame question. Right now, are they an elite team? No. Even though they're 3-0, I don't think this team is playing elite football or is capable of beating other elite teams sequentially, right? That idea of can you make it through a playoff run. Playing like this, I don't think they can. But they're going to get a lot healthier, theoretically, between now and the end of the season. You're going to get Chris Godwin back. You're going to get Mike Evans back. You're going to get Tristan Wirfs back. Those are 3 of the most important players on the team. Getting Tristan Wirfs back should improve 2 spots because you move Graham Barton back to center instead of asking him to play tackle because he did it in college. I mean, that's 4 spots you're getting made better by getting guys healthy.
This is in my 2 things are true category here. I think if we were just analyzing the 3-0 start to the Bucs, we'd say 3 last-second wins.
Yeah,
that's unsustainable. But what I said before the season was the fact that they have so much returning. I feel better about putting them in the Eagles and Lions and best teams in the NFC conversation. So I think, they're in that conversation, and it's more like they've survived 3 weeks of injuries, and I do feel good about the Bucs going forward. Niners at 3-0.
Yeah, I feel like the Bucs are still in that Colts bracket to me, where I think they're good. I think they'll make the playoffs. I'm not ready to say that they are in the same group as Buffalo, Philadelphia, etc. Niners, I feel kind of similar about. Same sort of story. They're 3-0. They've ridden through injuries. They've gotten the wins. Losing Nick Bosa is huge. I mean, even with Nick Bosa, you were looking at that defense and going, I'm not sure if that can hold up its end of the bargain enough for them to go on a run. Robert Saleh's actually done an amazing job with that group. They're playing really well relative to what they have. Without Nick Bosa, though, I just feel like that's such a big chasm to bridge.
It's funny analyzing these things because the record just holds so much weight in your head. And you go back and you look at the Niners winning on a kind of a prayer for Brock Purdy in week 1 and the way they won last week with the comeback drive from Mac Jones and a field goal. Same thing with the Colts, right? They're a leverage play that they had nothing to do with from being 2-1.
Which was against the one good team they played.
Right, and you could say the same thing. You could say, well, the Bills did the Ravens come back and the Eagles just did the Rams come back, but there's priors there. Like there's more of a track record for the Bills and the Eagles. And the Bucs, they're 3 plays from being 0-3, 3 plays from being 3-0.
Yeah.
It's kind of the nature of the season right now. How about 1-2 teams?
Yeah, this is interesting because 3 of them were kind of preseason favorites. 2 of them were legitimate contenders preseason, and one of them was the team that I think people were giving the shine to instead of the Chargers, Denver. Baltimore, I think, are still elite.
There's 3 1-2 teams that we expected to be very good. Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Denver Broncos.
Right. Go. Baltimore, I think, are still an elite contender. I think they got beaten by another elite contender twice.
Yeah. Bills and Lions.
Yeah. Now, we said before, I think you can start asking some questions about that defense, and that may well not be anywhere near as good as we thought it was going to be, and that might be a problem over the course of the season. I still think, generally speaking, they're too good, and they are an elite contender.
Ravens, I agree. I'm not ready to give up on the Ravens at all. Chiefs. So this season, and we pinged this. We noticed this going in. It was the 2022 season, I believe, where every good team from the previous year seemingly was playing each other early in the year.
Yeah.
And all the bad teams were seemingly playing each other early in the year. And it made the teams with low expectations, they were sitting there at 2-0, 3-1, 4-1 a few weeks in. And a lot of the good teams were 2-2, 3-2, 2-3, and you're asking questions about the good teams because they had played each other. I feel like we're in that world again. And I've cited a ton, the Ravens' early season schedule and then the Chiefs sitting at 1-2 in their early season schedule. And so the Chiefs and Ravens are going to play each other, and it is wild, right? One of the teams is going to be 1-3 coming out of this. And oh, by the way, the Chiefs still have to play the Lions in a couple weeks, right? Like these are tough schedules early on, and I think that's going to skew things. I would say the Chiefs look weaker than they've been the last couple of years, but don't forget they've looked weak
Yeah.
The last 2 years too. Even last year when they kept winning games.
But they were winning, obviously.
They were winning, like they were winning the one-score game. So I'm not giving up on the Ravens or Chiefs, even when one of them is 1-3.
You know when people do that blind resume thing? Like if you did a blind resume on Mahomes and the Chiefs this year, you wouldn't say they were an elite contender, right? Like how much did that matter? That it is Mahomes, and we know Mahomes has done weird things, weird special things in the playoffs, and when it really matters, I mean, he's kind of said already that he's trying to do those now because he thinks it really matters right now in September, and it's still not enough.
You also know that Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice are going to come back, and it's a matter of like if they're 2-4 without Rashee Rice, could they go 10-1 in their next?
I guess the question is, how bad do they need to look before you decide they're not a real contender?
Well, the standard's different, right? I mean, the standard for the Chiefs is, are they going to make it to the AFC Championship for the 8th straight year?
Because, like, they don't look any better than the Bucs, the 49ers, the Colts, certainly the Colts. But we know Mahomes is special.
Just to remind people, maybe it's our own fault, but 2 years ago, they get wrecked on Christmas Day against the Raiders in a season of mishaps by their pass catchers, the offenses. That was the first year Mahomes-led offense looked pedestrian.
Right.
And honestly, the last 2 years has been, pedestrian, right? Yeah. Or, like 10th in the NFL.
Which is exactly where he is right now in EPA per play, EPA per dropback.
Every Chiefs team-centric metric has them like in the middle through 3 weeks. Every Mahomes metric in the regular season the last 2 years has him around 10th, 11th, right? That's where he's been. PFF, EPA, points per game. That's where the Chiefs are. It's pretty consistent, 10th or 11th. But we wrote them off in 2023. Like, it's just not their year. It's a rebuild. And then they just got into the playoffs and, made a run. If they're 10-7 as a 5 seed, 6 seed this year, I'm still not going to write them off, right? You're not going to write them off.
But it's only because it's the Chiefs. It's like,
but there's track record matters.
There's no logic attached to it. It's
track
just like,
record
I'm scared
matters.
of the Chiefs.
Right. A 10-7 Mahomes team versus a 10-7 Kirk Cousins team. We're going to say, of course, this Kirk Cousins team isn't going to do anything. And then, this Mahomes team, can they go on a 4-game run? Absolutely.
Like it's built off a supernatural fear that he might just go click in the playoffs and suddenly it's vintage Mahomes.
Built off prior evidence, man. That's what it is.
But I don't know that there's prior evidence that this current level of play can just be eradicated and then play dramatically
2023. Mahomes played at a similar level, as did the offense.
But you now have an aged Travis Kelce. Like, can they put to the things that allowed them to do that exist this year?
No, I get it. That's fair. It's a monster week for the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Ravens defense. I got the number wrong. They've only given up 96 points, not 97. So they're just barely second in the NFL.
I mean, your tweet was wrong. It's misinformation out there.
It's taken off.
Going viral.
It's taken off. So I'm not gonna delete it.
I guess so. You've got a struggling defense in Baltimore and a struggling offense, relatively speaking, in Kansas City. It's weakness on weakness.
I already see Chiefs fans being like, the Ravens have given up 96 points. We're going to struggle to score 20.
If Kansas City loses that game and can't get much going on offense against the Baltimore defense that has been hemorrhaging yardage and points to everybody so far this season, then I think you've got some real concerns.
I think it's on both sides, though, too, because you have Lamar and the Ravens. Like, Lamar and Jackson ended up with a great passing stat line, but the offense was not great the other night. They put up a lot of points, but when they needed to put drives together, he gets sacked 7 times, and he wasn't running, and that's the type of game that he has against
such a good
Kansas
job
City
of
historically.
Spying him, keeping him in the pocket. Alex Anzalone was like, the second he saw any glimmer of Lamar taking off, like triggered and immediately went after him, regardless of what he was doing on the play.
Right.
Like there's one time where there's like a crossing route being passed off between linebackers, and he's just like, forget it, I'm out. Just boom, bomb. And Jack Campbell's like, wait, what? That's taken after the crossing route that he had nothing to do with anymore, because Anzalone's just been like,
that's what
immediately fired.
And I think Lamar's struggled against Spags. We're going to break it all down tomorrow, but it's a fascinating week for two teams sitting there at 1-2. And look, I'm saying they're 1-2, not because they're disastrous teams, but because the Chiefs had to play the Chargers and Eagles, and the Chargers are legit this year. It's a division game, and the Ravens had to play the Bills and the Lions. And it's not fun the way it went with the Ravens with the Derrick Henry fumbles, but those are Like, I don't think Derrick Henry is going to fumble 10 times this year.
Yes.
Like, whatever his pace is. I don't think that's going to happen, right? So there's some quirky stuff through 3 weeks. I think both teams, Ravens and Chiefs, are both still good.
Right now, the Chiefs are definitely not an elite football team, but I think there is still absolutely a reasonable specter that they could become that by the end of the season. However, I'm kind of I'm teetering on the brink of abandoning that at the moment. They don't need that many more rough-looking performances before I'm like, it's just not happening for them this year.
The other 1 and 2 team that we had on our list here.
Denver.
Team that's never trailed in the fourth quarter.
And yet.
Lost on 2 walk-off field goals.
Yeah.
So.
Lost on 2 walk-off field goals and, should have won one of those games if they just didn't.
I believe I saw the PFF grades have Bo Nix dead smack last, if that was correct.
That's their problem at the moment. He's gone back to being rookie Bo Nix, where he can't hit any of his receivers, where he's overthrowing them every time he has a deep shot. It's like he can't. I mean, they're not elite if he's playing like that.
For the 900th time, progression is not linear.
Yeah.
For quarterbacks, and that's when you have this entire offseason to talk.
That
and people are like, well, let's redraft last year. If you were redrafting, you'd take Bo Nix second, Jaden Daniels, then Bo Nix, and Caleb Williams is sixth, and this and that. And it's like, well, now Caleb Williams looks like the best first-round rookie, along with Drake May. Like, they're both.
With Jaden Daniels hurt, yeah.
With Jaden Daniels hurt, and Bo Nix struggling, and J.J. McCarthy looks awful.
Well, we went from, like, all of these guys look good to now
Penix is
half
struggling.
of them don't immediately.
I'll never forget the point I made in 2018, which kernels of truth.
How Mike Greenberg of you.
Right?
You know what? I'll never forget the point I made way back in the day. It was great.
You give me the stage, so the lectern, so I can tell you what I said of the 2018 quarterback class, which was
about a time I made a great point.
Which was completely wrong, actually, but there's elements of truth in it right now. I think I described, if you were the best quarterback, is going to rotate every year between Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, Josh Rosen was in there, and who else am I missing? Yeah, all those guys.
That's it, I think.
And okay, Allen and Lamar are clearly the top
Probably not
two.
going to be Rosen anytime soon.
It's not going to be Rosen.
Yeah.
They're clearly the top 2. But now you're in this world, like, if you really wanted, you could say Sam Darnold's got the number 1 PFF grade above the other 2. Whatever. I'm just saying, Darnold and Baker have had their moments, right?
Yeah.
So it's not linear. It rotates. There's ebbs and flows to this whole thing.
I mean, that play that I said to you,
gotta play
the flea flicker, where it's like he had 2 receivers that were like 5 yards behind the defense and missed both of them.
It's a tough one because what I struggle with is when there's a clear story to it, where it's like Bo Nix, rookie, struggles early, and then late in the season he was great. His stats were definitely inflated, right? What are the stats that were floating around about the only rookie to have this many touchdown passes and this and that? Like 17-game schedule, he played Chiefs backups and had 4 touchdowns, no picks, right? That inflated things. But Bo Nix was impressive down the stretch. He was. And now he's not regressed, but he's playing like he did earlier in the year, where we were saying he can't complete anything beyond 10 yards. Footwork is horrendous. And he's missing plays. I mean, I think Sean Payton's still dialing it up, but they're missing. But the defense still looks legit. The offense has shown spurts, but the quarterback has been inconsistent. So I'm also, by the way, not ready to give up on the Broncos, but Bo Nix got to play better.
I mean, they're not elite if Bo Nix is playing this way. I'm out on them.
They're not elite.
No.
I think they're going to be very competitive, and Bo Nix will play better, but this is bad right now.
Yeah.
Some 2-1 teams that we're calling bubble/questionable.
Yeah. So Washington, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, Los Angeles Rams, Arizona, Seattle. Those are all 2-1 teams. I think 3 of those are.
Who do you trust the most out of this?
Detroit. I think they showed
definitely.
the game against Monday night. They're absolutely still for real. I think the Rams showed the same thing, even though they found a way of losing that game late to Philadelphia. I think the Rams and Detroit are definitely still contenders if you had them as them going in. I think Green Bay belongs in that conversation, even though their offensive line got wrecked by the Browns. Again, number 1, I think that should get a bit healthier as the season goes on. Number 2, they were so impressive the other 2 games. I think they're probably still an elite team.
The Browns might wreck everybody.
Maybe, yeah. So those 3, I think I would put in the elite category from that group.
I agree with those teams. I would love to put Minnesota there, but I don't know about the quarterback play.
No.
I think everything else, though, can be in that world. I
Maybe.
don't know about the quarterback play.
Defense is amazing. I don't know. I don't know if the offense as a whole can function the way we want it to.
And the other team, okay, so I know Washington, I still have some concerns. Impressive win with Mariota at quarterback, but I'm going to say Seattle. My
They're the other one
priors
I think could be put in there.
Seattle Seahawks. We made a lot of jokes about first 3 weeks of Darnold last year, and it's happening once again. The first 3 weeks of a season is awesome for Darnold, but he did extend that. We haven't seen bad Darnold yet.
This year.
Last year, I know the last 2 games, but there was a couple in the middle that were questionable. So he's good for 4 or 5 bad games based off of last year and what we've seen from him. But I really like that defense. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. Seahawks and Cardinals, but I would throw the Seahawks as the other 2-1 team that I think can have 10, 11, 12 wins at the end of this thing.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Don't forget, tomorrow night, if you're a member, live watch along, Cardinals and Seahawks right here. We've got an update. You get your Pony Express sweatshirt on here.
Yep.
We have an update on your SMU fandom.
Yeah.
There's some drama in your world here as an SMU college football fan.
Completely independent of what's going on the field, which was also bad.
Not great. So now, for those who just tuning in here, we were looking for a college football team for you to become a fan of, and we chose SMU. You chose SMU.
We did. They had the best composite of bribery with the merch, story, and murderous mascot.
But what's happening? Like the SMU message boards. What's going on behind the scenes there? You must be on the message.
I haven't been big into the message boards. I will say that, but you would
love it. Really quick though. You would enjoy
I can't do that.
College football.
I have grown beyond that.
Message board.
18-year-old me would have been loving that. Now, old man me, I can't handle that.
People are asking where my football career came from. Transition from baseball. You started. You're a message board guy.
Yeah, way back in the day.
We were.
That's where all the original PFF people came from, a message board.
Let us know what message boards you were on.
The official NFL UK message board. And then an offshoot message board that I snuck into. Shouldn't have been allowed in there, but Anyway, I'm saying 18-year-old me would have been all on the college football message boards. Old man me, I can't handle that anymore. Anyway, it came across my desk that there are some bigwigs in the SMU world that are trying to abandon or ditch the phrase "pony up." There's an article written by Bethany Erickson from D Magazine, which I assume is Dallas. Yesterday, it was revealed that SMU was phasing out the catchphrase "pony up" because a handful of people felt it was not as powerful as Mustangs actually are. This is despite the fact that their live mascot has always been a Shetland pony and not a Mustang. We've gotten a few comments about whether this was a fully baked plan, but one reader had even more insights. Then they talk about this guy who actually was part of the sort of marketing of coming up with Pony Up, etc. Anyway, it sounds like, I forget who was involved in this decision, but it was a whole bunch of people that shouldn't be involved in the decision, right? Pony Up is the catchphrase. Peruna, the Shetland pony, would be disappointed at this as a thing. We should be leaving this to the people. This is not a decision that executives.
Who's making this decision? Is it the oil people?
The oil people. I think one of them was the chairman of the board of whatever's.
Board of Regents?
Yeah, maybe that was it. Here, hang on.
I might be dealing with boards of things.
Here we go.
Soon here.
They told the news, the whatever, that the move was an agreement between who's him? Yes, David Miller, who is chair of the board of trustees, the SMU board of trustees. So David Miller, chairman of the board of trustees, along with, it's an agreement with him, the head football coach, Rhett Lashley, and head basketball coach, Andy Enfield, and AD, Damon Evans. Those were the people that came up with this decision. That group got together and said, "Pony Up, not badass enough. We've got to get rid of it."
It's a pretty strong group.
But none of those people should be making, decisions about what the team, not mascot, mantra. What's the word I'm looking for here? Chant, whatever the thing
Rallying
is.
cry.
Yeah, they shouldn't be making that decision. None of them.
Do you think Cowboy Up would be strong enough? Not for them necessarily. How does that hit you? Because that led the 2004 Red Sox to a World Series. That broke the curse of 86 years. Cowboy Up.
That doesn't feel good.
If Cowboy Up could work, I'm sure Pony Up could work.
No, I mean, Pony Up works because it just works. The Cowboy Up's just a bad sounding thing.
But it worked.
I mean, whatever.
Tell that to Kevin Millar.
I'm just saying, this is a group of people that should not be involving themselves in whether pony up is the official catchphrase of the SMU Mustangs. And I say that as a long-standing, lifelong SMU fan.
You should talk to the Board of Regents over there, see if they want to sign up for some Howard Hughes memberships over here, some billionaire memberships. They had a line. I don't know which oil guy it was for SMU, because when your squad here got added to the ACC, right, they miss out on a certain amount of TV money that the other ACC schools built up, and he said something like, "It's just $400 million. Like we'll be okay. Like, I'll just throw the $400 million in. Don't worry about it. Like we'll be okay." Like, that was the type of money they're throwing around there.
This guy that emailed in the D magazine or whatever it was saying, the guy that was responsible for kind of coming up with this thing, he did both qualitative and quantitative research to get to what would hopefully resonate with fans. So this is science that has created Pony Up. Pony Up,
you can't just throw it aside.
Was scientifically created.
You can't just have a couple
people are out
wielding their power,
being like, Mustangs are cooler than that. We need to get something else. And they haven't even come up with something different. They've just been like, nah, we're phasing this one out. At some point in the future, we'll come up with something more badass sounding. But for now, just stop saying it.
And then you've got the whole clothing line from our friend here. Does he have some Pony Up stuff? I'm sure he does.
Yeah, probably.
Man, I like your sweatshirt though. I'll be wearing mine too during the off season.
Anyway, as an SMU Mustangs fan, I think that's bad, and I think that's probably why we lost the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's turmoil at SMU right now.
Right, it's chaos. Now it's late in the fourth quarter. We need a rallying cry, and nobody knows what to say.
Can't say Pony Up.
Can't say it. It's being phased out.
We have a couple requests for Let's Ride.
Let's Ride. No, Russ has ruined that for everybody.
Certainly has. Don't attack Russ anymore on this show than he already has been. Sorry about that. So now we've got, look, if your team's 0-3, or even a soft 1-2, you might be looking forward to the draft.
You might
be. So we have multiple visitors, guests, talking draft this week. We have Big Ten's Jake Butt. I don't know, did that come out already? Big Ten's Jake Butt talking Big Ten quarterbacks, some players that have stood out to him. Jake Butt does a really good job for the Big Ten Network, former Michigan Wolverine, former Denver Bronco.
Former NFL tight end, so we can listen to his opinion.
Yeah, so we have to.
It's valid.
So Jake Butt, I interviewed him, talked to him about some NFL prospects, and Mike Renner actually going to show up here in a little bit and record something that we think we're going to drop on Friday. And we'll get Renner's take on the quarterback draft class, see where that is right now, and some other players that are standing out to him. So we will be sprinkling in draft content that people have been requesting. Little draft content earlier and earlier every year for us. So Mike Renner, Jake Butt, check it out on the show here on YouTube. You got to be subscribed, though. Those are going to be YouTube exclusives. So if you're in audio land, get to YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, you got to do it. Appreciate everybody. We just got over 60,000 subscribers on YouTube, so we appreciate everybody for joining there. And don't forget about memberships, the 3 tiers of memberships. If you can give everybody a reminder on that. Again, it's all above and beyond. It's all extra content in the membership tiers.
Yeah, absolutely. Big thank you to everybody that's already joined as a member in one of the 3 tiers, but also a big thank you to everybody that's just subscribed or listening along or watching along. Or thank you to everybody.
Thanks to everybody. Leave a comment on Spotify, follow us on Twitter, do all the things. Tomorrow we got our Week 4 NFL preview, and you'll see on Twitter here, by the way, on YouTube right after, the names on the wall. You update the names on the wall every single time you come in here. If you're in the insider tier, you're part of the show.
You are
part of the
on
credits.
the studio wall. That
and
can't be taken down.
And Drew Collins in the billionaire tier not only named the studio, but he's got his own color name.
His own special color.
His own special color.
Yep.
All right, man. That's it for us today. We'll see you again tomorrow, 9 a.m. for our Week 4 NFL preview.